I finally got the Dataverse MCP plugin working inside of Copilot Cowork. And I didn't just point it at one clean little table. I pointed it at a real Dataverse model with employee, assets, equipment requests, approvals, and history. Cowork queried the model, followed the relationships, built the dashboard, and then started calling out data issues while it worked. You want to see how I did all this? You can set up your Dataverse MCP plugin in the matter of a few steps. Let's go. Data model, employees, assets, equipment requests, approvals, history. I got lots of tables, lots of relationships. This is a real solution. And with the real solution, we have a real app, real data, relational data, something I can query on from a real use case. Equipment request hub. Let's see how we actually go in and build this. So the first thing we're going to do to connect to a Dataverse MCP environment is to create a app registration. So we're going to head over to Entra Admin Center. So now that I'm here at the Admin Center, you're going to want to go to App Registrations, click on that, and then click New Registration. So in here, we're going to give it a meaningful name, something Dataverse, Cowork, and I would probably put your environment or something that you can identify your environment with. For example, if you're going to add this for different environments, dev, test, prod, you don't want to have all the same name and then not understand which one actually is for what. So I like to put the name in there of the environment. So in this case, I'm going to say Cowork Dataverse MCP, and then it's going to be connecting to the Cavora environment. So I am going to say Cavora. This will be a single tenant redirect. We'll leave that blank for now, and we'll click register. So after this, we're going to add our MCP API permission. To do that, let me just collapse that. You're going to want to click on API permissions, and then we're going to go down and click add a permission. So in this case, we're going to connect to the dynamic CRM, which is towards the top. So I'm going to click on that, leave it as delegated permissions, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to check the MCP tools. Add the permission. Then I'm going to go back and click on overview, because we're going to need to copy out a few of these values. We'll need to copy the application or client ID, and we'll need to know our tenant ID as well. So I'm going to copy those. Okay, I'm going to use this app that I created. You don't have to use this. I might include it in my blog, but you just basically need to copy down the tenant ID, client ID. You don't really need to copy the secret. Just make sure that when you do it, you copy it and paste it right away into where you need to paste it, because once you leave the screen, you won't be able to see the secret anymore. But there's some other good things in here that just come preoccupied with some stuff that we can put in. So let's go check out our app registration, and we'll copy those that data inside of here. So if I go back to it, so I'll copy the client ID, put it there, the tenant ID, I can then copy the redirect URI and add that here. Click on add, click web, paste in that, and click configure. I'm then going to go to secrets, click new client secret, just give it a quick name. I'm going to delete the secret after the video anyway. So don't try to steal the secret, because it will be deleted anyway. So I'm going to grab the secret value by copying it, and I'm going to put it back inside of this app over here I have. Okay. So I created my registration. I created the secret. I added the dynamics permission. We don't need to grant consent. We see that if I go back, no, admin consent required is no. So that's just how this tenant is set up. If yours says yes, you will need to grant admin consent. But if it says no, you don't need to grant it. So I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna click on check, and then we added the redirect or URI. Okay, now we're gonna go and configure the environment. Dataverse URL, and if I go back to the admin center, I can copy the environment URL here. And it automatically creates the API MCP URL. So we confirmed the environment, confirmed the URL. We enabled the Dataverse MCP in that environment. We added the client ID as the allowed MCP. Yep. And we don't have to test this, but basically because we haven't added, because we're using user access in the app registration, the user's only going to be able to see what they have access to in that environment. So be aware of that. If they don't have access to the environment or data in that environment, like this won't work, which is by default. You're only going to see data and it's only going to pull data that you have access to. So I'll click confirm. Then we're going to go to the Teams developer portal to put in some information in there. So next we're going to go and configure the Power Platform environment to be able to connect to the MCP. So we're going to go to the Power Platform Admin Center. So in the Power Platform Admin Center, we're going to go to the environment we want to configure this in. So I'm going to click on Manage. I'm going to find the environment I want to connect to. You're going to select it. And then we're going to click on Settings at the top. And under Settings, we're going to go under Product and then Features. And we're going to find the Dataverse Model Context Protocol section, which is just a little bit down. You want to make sure Dataverse Intelligence is turned on. So we see here, actually, there's two different options here, right? We have the GA version of the server and the preview version. Now, I've had some issues with the preview version. If you have both of these enabled, it can mess up your Cowork MCP. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the preview version. You can try it with it both on, but I've had some issues. And if you're not able to connect to the server once you deploy the plugin, it's because of this reason, or it could be because of this reason. So I'm going to turn this off. Just make sure that you're aware of what happens when you turn that off. Then I'm going to click Save. Now that's not the only setting we need to enable, actually. We need to click on step 2, right? So step 2 is add MCP clients to the allow list. We need to allow Cowork or our application, the app registration we just created. We need to add that to the allow list. So when I click on advanced settings, it's going to open this up. Now you might have a couple in here, you might have none. Doesn't matter. We're going to click on new. The name, we're going to give it the name that we gave it in the app registration. The unique name, we're going to put basically the same thing, but we have to do one thing. We have to put new underscore, and then we're going to paste in the name and then just get rid of the spaces. Then the application ID is going to be the application ID from the app registration we just created. So just to show you, I went back to the app registration. I'm copying the client ID. I can do that by clicking the copy button or highlighting the text. And then I'm going to paste that in here. And I'm going to change it as enabled to yes. And I'm going to click Save and Close. Okay. The next step is to create a registration for our authentication for the plugin. So to do that, we're going to go to the Teams developer portal. In the Teams developer portal, dev.teams.microsoft.com. We'll click on Tools and then OAuth client registration. Then I'll click on New OAuth client registration. Now here we're going to give it a registration name. I'm going to use the same name as my app registration, but just add OAuth at the end. The base URL is going to be our environment URL, which we can get from the admin center, or we can get from the app that I built if you're using that. So I'll copy that and paste it. Next is my restrict usage by organization. We can connect this to a specific app, but because we haven't deployed our app yet, I'm going to select any Teams app for testing and store validation only, just until we get our agent plugin deployed. Then I'll come back here and I'll input the Teams app ID. All right, next we're gonna have to fill in the client ID and the secret. So if you've copied that, paste that in here. I'll be copying it and pasting it from my app. Make sure that when you're copying and pasting your client's secret, that it is the right secret. Make sure that you click on the little eye icon, so then you can actually see like what values you're pasting in. Especially if you're copying it out of an application, there can be some formatting, some white space. Just make sure that every value is correct. Now the authorization endpoints are pretty much the same, but they can also be found in my app here. So I'm going into the OAuth section and I'm going to copy out the authorization endpoint. Next, we need the token endpoint. We'll also get that from the app. And the token endpoint is the same as the refresh endpoint in this example. Next, we're going to add the scope. The scope is just going to be our organization base URL, a .default offline _ access. I'll put this in the description below as well and in the blog. Once you add that, we are good to hit save. Now I'm going to grab and copy the client registration ID that gets generated once this client registration is generated. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to copy it in the OAuth section. Feel free to copy it in a notepad if you don't have this app. Next, I'm going to go through the checklist, create the OAuth client registration. Done. Enter the authorization and token endpoints. That's done. Enter the correct scope. That's done. And copy the OAuth registration ID for the plugin. That is also done. All right, now we're on to building the plugin. So I'm going to give it a display name, connection, a connector description, connector ID, and that's all I really need to do. So the connector name or the display name, I'm actually just going to name it Kavora's Dataverse MCP, and the connector description, I'm just going to tell it what it's doing, access to Dataverse in the Kavora CRM. Connector ID, I'm just going to name it Dataverse-MCP-Kavora. Next, we're going to head over to Copilot Cowork to actually create the plugin, which will import a skill first. So this is how you add a Copilot Cowork skill the easiest way possible. So this is required to easily create a Dataverse plugin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say add this skill, and then I'm going to drag and drop the skill that I've linked in down below and on my on the blog. It's just a zip folder. I'll click send. Now this might take a few minutes, so I'm going to speed this up. Now we're just going to wait like a minute or two, and then we will refresh the page, and then we'll use this skill that we just imported to create the Dataverse plugin. So I'm going to use that plugin skill to create the Dataverse MCP plugin. So I'm going just to use natural language. Make sure if you just imported the skill, you'll have to refresh your page. I'm going to attach the template file that you'll find on my blog. Link down in the description below. And also I will be passing in my details that I've been collecting while setting all this up, like my client ID, MCP URL, all that stuff. If you've been using my app that I built, you'll find it an easy way to copy it out would be like this. I can easily just copy the setup summary, go back over to Cowork, paste that in there. Now I'm just going to remove the last part, last two things. The schema skill is actually included in my template, and client secret captured here, yes, hidden. We don't really need that in here. It's just it was copied in with the setup stuff. So I'll delete that. Everything else looks good. I'm going to hit send. This might take a while, so I'm going to speed this up. If you don't include the details and you're doing it manually, you'll actually get prompted for it. Just make sure you put in the MCP API. One thing to note is that it says here that it used placeholder icons. Don't let this message here fool you. There actually is an icon. Okay, so now we're gonna download this. So you download the zip. So back in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, we're gonna click on Agents, All Agents. There's these three dots. We click on Add an Agent. We're gonna upload our zip file that we downloaded, the plugin zip from Cowork. Okay, now when you validate it and click on the next screen, this is where we're going to select which users can publish and use the agent or the plugin and who gets it installed. I'm just going to do it for me for now until I can test it. And then I'm going to click next. Here, we're going to apply a template. For my organization, it's just going to be the default template. If you have other custom blueprints, feel free to use that. I'm going to scroll down and click next. Now we're going to apply permissions. In this case, the app registration is taking care of all of the permissions, so there will be no permissions required. I'll click next. And just review, and then I'll click publish. Now my agent is published, or my plugin is published. Now I can close this screen. I would wait about 5-10 minutes just to let the plugin sync and properly deploy before we can try it. Make sure that when you do go back to Cowork, Copilot Cowork, that you refresh the page. Okay, once it's deployed, we can head over to back to Copilot Cowork. Now you're going to want to refresh your page, and then you want to click on the plus icon, manage plugins. Okay, we can see my Dataverse one is right there. I already clicked add. When you click add at the top, it will tell you to connect, which you scroll down, and then there's this connect button. Go ahead and log in with your account, and then I'm going to click on accept. I'm now connected to the environment. Now to give it a good test, now that it's on, all my other plugins are turned off. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually create a skill that I can use, so the Dataverse MCP doesn't try to query every single table. We're going to give it some guidance. So we're going to use the built, or one of the skills that came with the plugin, the Dataverse schema plugin. And what it's going to do, it's going to help find the logical table names of the tables in our environment, which Copilot Cowork needs the exact logical name. And I just find that this skill kind of helps with that. So in this example, I'm just kind of asking it, hey, what tables are part of? And I gave it the name of an app inside of that environment, a model-driven app. And we can see here is using the Dataverse MCP to list the apps, to find that app. And now it's found the logical names. Now, remind you, I know, hate on me, I'm using this the default publisher. I actually had Plan Designer create the tables, and for some reason it didn't use my solution prefix, even though my other ones did. Anyway, it's asking me if it wants to pull all the column names. I'm saying yes. Pull all the logical column names as well. This will help Copilot Cowork query the data a lot quicker than it would normally, as well as I am more confident that it's going to bring back exactly what I want it to bring back. Especially around like lookups, option sets, anything that has like GUIDs and not real display names. I find that passing it a file with the column name, the logical names is very handy. Okay, as a test, I'm going to ask it to use that skill now and pull all the employees. Oh, I just noticed I used the wrong skill actually, but looks like it's smart enough to understand I meant the other skill. So it's done reading the table. It looks like we have 5 employees currently. It didn't really generate that many employees. And we see that which division they're a part of, the email, and the assets, which is a lookup of how many assets they have. Let's ask a few more questions. So I'm going to push it to its limits on building a full-on dashboard of a certain employee. I'm going to do this one as James. I'm saying to surface all the details relating to him. So we'll see if it can pull out all the lookups that are on this record. This query might take a little bit because we are querying so many different tables. So it's still generating my employee dashboard, but so far it looks pretty good. Very interactive, colorful. It's giving me some good insights, what kind of looks alarming and what kind of looks normal. I really like the details here. What I really like is that it's showing me data inconsistencies, or at least flagging them to me. Here it's noting that the manager forms a loop. I really like these tabs too. So we have the profile, the assets tab, approval queue, decisions. So to summarize this, it looks like James is marked inactive, but still holds 2 assigned assets and has 3 open items. Pretty interesting. Now I'm going to do another question. I'm just going to prompt it to list all of the assets. We see it brought back a whole list of records. Now I'm querying it if it can add 3 more items. A blue Yeti microphone, a red Dragon keyboard, a Surface Arc mouse. I'm telling Cowork to go look up the price in US dollars as well. All right, there we go. It says all the records have been added to Dataverse. Now I'm telling it to create a report with each employee on what they have left versus what they have used in terms of budget. Okay, this equipment budget report's actually pretty cool. Oh, there's something to note here. Heads up, James Chen has $3,298 in assigned assets, but no active employee record, which is, Cowork is guessing that it's likely an inactive employee, still holding equipment. And it says that I should probably follow up to retrieve or reassign. And then it's yet noting that Sarah Williams is also at 85% utilization. Next, because Cowork is recommending it, we're going to email James Chen asking about those assets. Here we see it's giving me a preview of the email to send. I'm going to click send. Now for my last prompt, I'm actually asking it to put all this information inside of a PowerPoint. And now I'm pointing it to a second skill that has a specific brand it's going to be able to pull from and generate a branded PowerPoint. All right, looks like my PowerPoint is finally done. Let's click on it and take a look at it. All right, I can see right away that this is the Kvora brand, using the same colors, the logo that I put before. Now these slides look pretty good for AI. We have a used and remaining budget slide. Okay, we have the James Chen assets held slide. 3 new accessories added. Okay, those are the 3 that I added using Cowork. And recommendations for the executive review. And then question slide. That's great. That looked really good. And I was able to build all these assets in the nick of time, right? Like I prompted it, went away, came back, and things were done, right? So I literally allocated tasks to the AI and came back to work being done. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. Any questions or if you have any issues setting up the MCP connector plugin, feel free to reach out or leave a comment below. Let me know what other MCP or plugins you want to see integrated into Copilot Cowork. Thanks.